It's day 2, all in with Amy Lawrence. Yes, and just so there's no chance a dog can throw up on this edition of the show, Flower is safely behind the closed door, although I can guarantee that she's sitting right up against the door. I'll probably hear her because sometimes she turns around and she plops back down, and she will definitely make the door rattle when she does that. So, for those of you who have asked, my dog appears to be doing much better. I actually stayed home on Monday night. My husband and I normally join some friends for dinner and a Bible study on Mondays. But I stayed home because I was nervous about Flower and her not feeling well because of the kind of dog she is, part Belgian Malinois. She has crazy energy. And when she's not feeling well and she's lethargic, it's very evident. It's a little bit like me. When I'm not talking and exuberant, people wonder what's wrong with me. I'm not allowed to have a quiet day. It doesn't really sit well with family and friends. So, for those of you who've asked, thank you for your concern about Flower. She does appear to be doing better. I had to coax her to eat this morning, but she finally ate about half of what she normally does. I was taking a bit of a precaution because I don't want her to throw up again. But I think she's okay. She probably just ate something outside, a bug, some grass. I don't know. We haven't sprayed lately for weeds, so I don't think it would be weed killer, but that dog eats everything and rolls around outside and everything, including anthills. So I don't know what she got into, but as many of you suggested on X and Facebook and even on the YouTube stream, she maybe was just nervous for me. So it was sympathy pains and sympathy puke, I guess. Thanks again for all of your support. It was really neat to get done with the show on launch day Monday and to see all your comments and to know that you're all in with Amy Lawrence. I understand there's novelty that could eventually wear off, so I need to be delivering what it is that you show up for. But if my dog throwing up right behind me in the middle of a live stream isn't enough, I can't promise that kind of entertainment every day, but I can promise that you're going to get the real Amy Lawrence, because being someone else is exhausting. Who has time for that? Really, who has time at all to try to be something that I'm not? So that's not going to happen. I got a lot of you who commented on the shelf behind me and the various pictures. And one of you even spotted Grammy Helen. She is right. Hold on. She's right there, right above me, swimming with dolphins. That's Grammy Helen. She was 18 years old when that black and white portrait was taken, and I did not see it until the year before she died. She actually told me she remembered what she was wearing in that photo. So at 100 years old, she remembered what she was wearing in that photo. She actually said it was a chartreuse green dress, which you can't see in the black and white. But when she passed away, my uncle allowed me to take that photo. And then on the other side over here are my maternal grandparents. My other grandma, my grandma Mary, she lived to 91. So I've got good genes. I don't know if I'll still be talking at 91 years old, but I do know that both my grandmothers are my heroes, and they gave me incredible genes, survival, and great personalities. They taught me generosity. So my two heroes had to be in studio with us. So a lot of you are sending your comments about the studio and various aspects of the show. We are still working out kinks, of course, but I'm glad some of you noticed the boom at the end. We've had a few people that have asked about starting a show with American Woman, or maybe bringing back some other elements of my previous show, After Hours. And I really do want this to be a fresh start. It's different. It's a whole new arena for me. And as I have told you, I'm just trying to get comfortable. I think after week 1, I'll feel more comfortable with the camera and with this format. Though you could ask producer Zach just a few minutes ago, I was freaking out about camera angle and how to get the right perspective, and whether or not before the show, my husband and I were looking at the Zoom. Should I zoom in? Mom's already said, you need to have more of your shoulders in the shot. But what I've realized is if I sit up too tall, the top of my head disappears. So I will adjust the zoom at some other point. There's probably some way with this high tech AI powered motion sensor camera that I just haven't figured out, probably because I didn't read all the directions. Oh, and don't try to pretend you read all the directions because I know that you don't either. So I'll work through my challenges about being on camera, and we're going to figure out our different graphics and ways to present some bells and whistles. So we're easing into it. That was the whole point behind starting in August, so that by football season, we've settled into a rhythm. Though, to be fair, most football teams, whether it's college or pro, it takes them a bit to settle into a rhythm. What do you hear about the NFL now? Because they've reduced the preseason to 3 games and soon will reduce the preseason to 2 games, that it takes really the full first month and sometimes 6 weeks of the regular season to find that consistency. And I always talk about the early part of the NFL season being a race to consistency. How quickly can a team figure out their identity and get on the same page and buy in and all that jazz, all those sports cliches. So we won't take 6 weeks. No, that would be a bad situation if 6 weeks down the road, I'm still not comfortable with the camera and we still don't have a rhythm. But we'll take at least this week and next week. And we're easing into welcoming guests on the show and throwing out questions for you. We're going to try both of those things today, though. So I'm really excited. And I do feel like I owe him a return visit, because when the longtime voice of the Baylor Bears, both football and basketball, invited me to be on his show in April as a guest, that was really the start of me joining the team at Rogue Media Network and having this show. But it started back in April. The seeds were planted. And when John had me on his show, it led to a conversation with his boss and the owner of Rogue Media Network, Corey. We had a great time. Our first call, 90 minutes of talking shop and business models and figuring out if there might be a place for me on his rapidly growing network. And so here we are today. And John and I have become now friends, but also colleagues, and hoping to do some work with him on Baylor Athletics, since he's the director of broadcasting there as well. So he's very well known in the Waco area, obviously in the Big 12 and in those circles where play-by-play announcers reside and move around. So I'm very excited for John to join us here on the show, because not only do I want to thank him here on All In with Amy Lawrence, but I also really enjoy talking to him. So John Morris will join us about a half hour from now. We're looking forward to that. And as we head through this edition of the show, I'm pretty sure I can hear the dog chomping on a bone right outside the door. I bet a bunch of you since 2020 have also run into these types of challenges. Now, COVID and 2020 into 21 was the extreme where it felt like most people were working from home. And do you all remember that attorney who got on a Zoom call and he couldn't figure out how to get the cat meme or the cat filter off of his screen, and he's trying to do some type of pre-trial meeting with the judge and the other attorney, and he can't get the cat screen off, and he's telling the attorney, I swear I'm not a cat. I feel like that went viral, but I feel like we on my old show, we laughed hard at that for weeks. Poor guy, he was mortified, like me yesterday when my dog threw up. And so a lot of us have had to get adjusted to being on Zoom or other types of video calls. Google Team, it's not Google Teams, right? Whatever it is, Google Meet and something. Oh, Microsoft Teams. Skype. I had to teach my grandmother how to Skype in the middle of COVID. So video calls are very much a part of our corporate and business model now. And many people do still work from home. However, because we often have videos from home, it's not only dogs throwing up. It can be kids who are running in. We've seen a bunch of those videos, kids running in kids going crazy, all kinds of stuff like that. Loud noises in the background. I don't know, maybe somebody's dishwasher broke down in the middle of a live stream. So it's the intersection of real life and our work lives, or our personal and our professional lives. And that obviously creates some funnier moments, but also some conflict. And I've said this so many times on various shows or appearances that I do. I actually don't love working from home, and that's one of the reasons why, because there can be a lot of distractions. Also, I eat too much when I work from home. So it's good that I'm locked in here because I generally tend to snack more. But since I'm on camera and I will not, at least now, maybe at some point we'll do some kind of a, I don't know, chili cook off. I'm big into chili. I love to bake as well. So maybe some kind of a cook off or a taste test for something new that I've tried. That's always the fun thing about joining a new company and a new team, is that I can impress them with my baking. Pretty confident about my baking, and you all feed my baking ego, new coworkers. So even if we're not as passionate about those particular values and views, we almost all have an opinion about public figures sharing their views and sharing their politics. Now, we're going to focus mostly on athletes, and we've got some recent examples, but it's not like we don't ever hear from celebrities. We don't ever get, at least this is how I feel sometimes, we don't ever get preached at by public figures with their views and their perspectives. And I do understand that there is a responsibility that comes with having a platform. Okay. So, me as I call myself the Z level public figure. I'm not in any way famous, so please don't drop that on me. I hate the word celebrity because that's also not me. I just happen to be good at talking and connecting with people, and I'm grateful to have made a career out of it. But I do not in any way feel like a celebrity or famous or anything like that. However, I am a public figure and I do have a public platform. And because of my 30 years in the business, when I jump on a live stream and start a new show, it's different than, say, one of my Syracuse students who has to build up a following. Okay. So there is a responsibility that comes with it. I learned, and I'll maybe tell you this story a little bit later when we get into some of the nuts and bolts of where my perspective came from. But I learned when I was working at ESPN Radio that if you're going, and this is back now, this goes back to 2006 or 7. So we're talking almost 20 years ago when I first started in network broadcasting. And I made the mistake of mentioning a president's name. I wasn't taking sides. I wasn't stating a political view. I didn't say I voted for him. I didn't vote for him. I mentioned his name, and it was actually kind of a joke. It was George W. Bush and some of the ways that he would make up words. If you remember that and I'm good at that, so I'm not criticizing. I actually think it's really funny, but he made the word strategery, and I would use that on the air sometimes. So I credited President George W. Bush, and right away, phones blew up. At the time, it was phones. I think our text line blew up. And I remember my producer, his name is Purnell. In fact, I work with him now at SiriusXM sometimes. He stood up over the low wall that had a window on top. So there was a wall for half of it, and then a window that would go up to the ceiling. And so I couldn't see him unless he stood up. So he stood up in his producer booth and he looked at me and he shook his head in horror. And we got blasted with a bunch of reaction. I didn't even make a political statement. I just mentioned a president's name, and it incited proverbial riots. So at that point, I realized that in network, and you really have to know your audience. That's a major skill when you work in any facet of broadcasting. You have to know your audience and who you're speaking to. And a national audience is going to feature people who are both sides of the aisle, and also people who are right in the middle. I like to say, you'll hear me say this a lot, especially during football season, we agree on nothing in this country except the NFL and dogs. And now I'll add US soccer to that because of what happened during the World Cup. But it's very true that we are divided in many ways in this country. I still think the United States is the best country in the world. In fact, I'm wearing a United States. Oh, here we go. America, fireworks. I'm wearing a United States of America shirt today. So I believe that with all of our flaws and with all of our missteps and certainly some of our characteristics in this country, that there's much to be addressed and fixed. And I would love it if we weren't so divided. It was really neat to see the spirit and the unity during the World Cup, but that's not reality most of the time. I still think we live in the best country in the world, and I'm grateful to be an American. That will not change. Proud to be an American. My recent visit to Arlington National Cemetery, being there for the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, the type of pride and gratefulness I feel to be an American will never change. However, we are very divided. And so to bring politics into sports often will divide your audience. And that's kind of where I'm going here. I'm not the example, but when you have a Caitlin Clark or an Aaron Rodgers who either choose or do not choose to air their political and social views, the audience has a reaction. Okay, and this is transcending sports. If you look on your favorite news website this morning, or you're on social media and you follow whether Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, whatever it is that you follow, you're going to see the headlines about Caitlin Clark, who chose not to speak up about what one of her teammates has said about trans athletes competing in the WNBA. It's a major question that's posed to every member of the WNBA and every coach. So she chooses an approach where she just wants to focus on basketball, where Aaron Rodgers, you could see him salivating over it. He could not wait to get back on the Pat McAfee show and blast Tony Fauci and all of some of the news and some of the revelations that we've heard about Dr. Fauci, as well as the methods and the processes politically that were used during COVID. Okay, so those two athletes take very different approaches. So my question is, and again, I will share my opinion with you, but my question is, what's your reaction when an athlete, so for this particular debate and this particular show, we'll focus on athletes. That happens with movie stars. It happens with musicians. It happens with rich and famous people who happen to have a larger platform than middle-class America. What's your reaction when athletes use their platforms to share their politics? Okay, so that's the question. And producer Zach will have to help me with this. I guess I don't need to tell people where they can comment, or I do. Do I need to direct people to the comment section, producer Zach, or will it just be obvious?
No, here, I'll do voice of God. But no, it should be, if you're watching, I don't know what else to call it, but that,
I know, you're right.
But no, if they comment while they're watching us live right now, we'll be able to see them all. Or if they want to reach out to you, obviously, in any of the other way. Oh, I haven't done that yet here. Any of the other ways that you can see down below at the ticker. And you want to find some questions to bring that way. But yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to retweet it on my X account right now. I'm trying to get used to saying X. And I do feel like at times I'm alone on my island when it comes to my particular perspective. So I just shared, you'll get a sneak peek there. I just shared my perspective on X, so you can check that out. But I will get into that coming up. Why I choose to turn a blind ear and blind eye to the political and social views of athletes. Why I need to do that in order to do my job effectively. But I want to know what's your reaction. And so you can find us, whether it's on X, or I know we have a couple new posts on Instagram. I will confess that Instagram and TikTok with Amy Lawrence on YouTube and Rogue Media Network.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Morning to you. I actually have figured out on our stream here where I can see the comments. So good morning to those of you who are weighing in and are watching live. And my husband just told me this. I don't know if it's across the board, but that there are some moments where the stream is freezing. So I'm really sorry about that. I actually have no idea what to do. I know I am plugged into our router here at the house. And so producer Zach, if you have any questions or if there's something I should do, please let me know. But hopefully that will work out. And if it doesn't, then I'll start praying. And if that doesn't work, then we'll figure out something different. But this is the week and next week probably too, where we work through some of the kinks just because it's all new for me. And while I'm technically savvy in some arenas, there are others where I'm completely clueless. And over the past 2 weeks, I've asked Zach, I think 4,022 questions about the technical aspect. And I still, even yesterday, was asking about some social media stuff. So I am sorry if it's freezing up. I don't know what to do about that, but Zach will help. So I do appreciate that Chris wrote in, though, with his support. Who reads the whole instruction manual before using something? What do you think, Zach?
I do have one. So I noticed when they said it earlier, and for some reason it's not on our end, but obviously it's happening. I do have an idea for us. And we can either do I can call you so I can talk you through this, but the next break we take, no. I'm just saying it'll be simple. It's just the next break we take. I'm just going to need you to make a change on your end.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
So since we won't be able to talk during it. Yeah. And so we'll try that next break.
All right. I'll wait for the call. We don't want it to freeze up when John Morris is joining us. Okay, good. All right. So here we go. This is in the news right now because of the ways, and they're very opposite, two opposite ends of the spectrum. One very popular athlete, in fact, she transcends sports right now. She's really the Pied Piper for women's basketball, and she's handled her role extremely well. Caitlin Clark was for a couple of days, not in front of the media. And there was some speculation that the Indiana Fever were hiding her and that they didn't want her to answer the question about trans athletes participating in women's sports. And this, of course, has been generated. A lot of this conversation has been generated by Sophie Cunningham, who is her teammate and in some ways her enforcer, although I know Sophie doesn't like being called that. But Sophie is bold. She is out there. She is unafraid, unashamed, and she is someone who doesn't take herself too seriously. But also, I think Sophie's fairly savvy when it comes to keeping herself in the spotlight. Okay, so she makes the statement that she does in a couple of different interviews about how women's sports, and girls' sports, in her opinion, should be for biological women and girls. And there's been a firestorm since then. So finally, Caitlin Clark is in front of a microphone after a game on Sunday because they saw their 5-game winning streak end at the hands of the Minnesota Lynx. So she's sitting at the podium and she's asked the question. And though the reporters try multiple times to get her to answer a question definitively about which side she falls on or what she thinks about Sophie's comments, she directs this back to basketball. And it's kind of an awkward moment, but you can see the look on her face that she is not going to budge. Another reporter tries a different way and a different phrasing of the question, and she points back to the last reporter and says, I just answered that question. So whether it was Caitlin's choice or whether it was the Fever's choice, and I honestly don't know, my guess is that Caitlin would prefer not to wade into political and social issues. And there are a couple of reasons for that. A couple of reasons I believe that. Number one is that she did a recent interview at the All-Star game. In fact, did 2 interviews at the All-Star festivities, the All-Star game, about how she just wants to play basketball and why can't the focus be on basketball? And this went back to the Alyssa Thomas situation and the punch to the throat and the suspension and all the narratives around how the WNBA hates Caitlin Clark, or this is a racist thing, or it's because this reason and that reason. And Caitlin mentioned that it's exhausting to feel like the second you step out of the locker room, you've got to deal with all of this fallout from every little thing that's under a microscope that happens to her over the course of a game. She really wants to focus on basketball. So I do believe that about her. At the same time, the Fever may have helped her and coached her and given her advice about how to answer the question because they knew it was coming when she got in front of a microphone. Okay, so Caitlin, I feel like I can't say plead the fifth right now because that's taken on a whole different connotation. However, Caitlin chooses not to answer. And it reminded me of Michael Jordan. Do you remember how Michael Jordan was very apolitical during the course of his career? And in the decades that have passed, all you sad saps who never got to see Michael Jordan play live, I do pity you. In the decades that have passed, Michael has admitted that and people around him have admitted that what he wanted to do was remain neutral in the middle of the road because he was trying to sell sneakers, right? He was really the first major athlete to have this contract with Nike that just exploded. So he wanted to remain neutral because he did not want people to take sides and then not buy his sneakers or not support him. Okay, so that reminded me of Michael Jordan when I heard Caitlin Clark take that neutral stance. I'm not going to talk about it. That's up to the WNBA to set policy. You then, as fans, you can believe what you want because she's left it open-ended. You might choose to think that she's on your side or she's against you. But I know from personal experience, because I do not talk politics on my shows, that very often when you take a middle of the road approach or you remain neutral like Switzerland, people assume you're on this side or you're on this side. And they take comments that you've made about other topics that weren't political and they infer which side you're on. And in some cases, even without me validating or expressing my views explicitly, people will get upset at me either because I didn't take a stand or because they believe they know what side I'm on. And after that, they're out. Okay, so I've had all of that happen to me, even though I've never once stated my political views, the way I vote, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't mean it's not important to me. It means I choose not to use this forum to share my political views. In fact, I'm very passionate about politics and very passionate about what's happening in our country, but I don't believe this is the forum for me. And I don't want to divide my audience in half. So I understand if that's the approach that Caitlin Clark took. I don't think it was mandated by the Fever. I don't believe the Fever are making her say, hey, talk to the WNBA, because Caitlin's got the leverage, not the Fever. Now, the other extreme is Aaron Rodgers. He goes on the Pat McAfee show, and they were doing a remote broadcast, a live broadcast from Steelers camp, from Steelers training camp. And there's a bunch of people up on a stage, plus Pat, of course, and they've got a long-standing relationship. I don't know whether or not Aaron's going back to his weekly appearances, but I do know that he had saved up all of his shots for this moment, feeling validated. And I won't go back and review everything that happened with Aaron Rodgers in 2021, but when he didn't get vaccinated, he told people he was immunized, and people felt like he lied. He was firmly on the opposite side of that. 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, I think it's pretty clear that there are plenty of Americans who felt like they couldn't speak out their views about the vaccine, or in some cases were forced to get the vaccine they didn't want. Okay, whether or not you got it, whether or not you supported it, whether or not you believe what was being told, we're now finding out there was a lot of misinformation. And also, people who spoke out against the vaccine were very often treated poorly. Public figures, family members, that kind of thing. That's not an opinion, that's fact. So here's Aaron Rodgers, who was put through the ringer, fairly or unfairly. People are still trying to decide whether or not he was treated poorly for his views, or whether or not he lied and he was a big fat jerk. But he waited for the opportunity to blast Anthony Fauci and some of the principles, some of the values, some of the PR that was trotted out that was made to look like truth. Okay. So you've got Caitlin, who's taking a neutral stance. You've got Aaron Rodgers, who couldn't be any more forceful. In fact, it was kind of funny, just as so, and I don't watch Pat McAfee on a regular basis. It's not quite my style, but he has a good relationship with a lot of people and gets a lot of great guests. And it was really funny, just as a member of the business, to see him try to reel in Aaron Rodgers, who refused to talk about anything but how he felt validated and how he was wronged, and how all of his views now have proved right, and Anthony Fauci is a criminal. So that's the extreme to which he went. And so I'm wondering, what's your reaction when athletes use their platforms to share their politics or their views? Okay, so we would love to hear from you. You can comment on the stream. I hope it's not locking up. For me personally, and this goes back to my days understanding that politics will divide your audience. As I said, I'm very passionate. My husband and I, we are extremely passionate over politics, and we at times will find ourselves engaging in very passionate discussions with our family members and friends. Sometimes they agree with us, sometimes they don't. So we want to be respectful. There's a Bible verse that really matters to me in Ephesians: speak the truth in love, meaning tell the truth, but be kind, be loving, be caring about it. We're not trying to ramrod what we believe down someone else's throats, but we are very passionate about our political and social views. Okay, so can we, or should I, use my platform? I've chosen not to. I even had a listener / viewer say to me yesterday, I thought you were better than that. You have a responsibility to use your platform. Well, I don't agree with that. I believe that being apolitical allows me, here on the show, allows me to connect with people and form relationships with people. I don't think that this forum over a live stream is the best way to have a conversation where I can't see you and we can't speak in person, face to face, eye to eye. Though I hope that you're seeing my eyes right now. I'm trying to make eye contact. But when it comes to sports and doing my job, here's the bigger picture. I want to be able to do my job objectively and effectively. even before I became passionate about politics, even before politics were mixing with sports as much as we see them today, and athletes had their own podcasts and social media where they can air their views, even before that became a thing and extremely common. I remember going back to, again, 20 years ago or so, when an athlete that I was covering ended up having an affair, cheated on his wife. And that's fairly common too. Okay. I'm not acting like it's one guy, but I remember that I was really upset about it. And I, at the time, felt like my opinion about that athlete changed. And I realized that as much as I have my own views and as much as I wish that my favorite athletes or the athletes I covered didn't have affairs and didn't cheat on their families and didn't make decisions and choices that I wouldn't make, that if I was constantly holding that against them, I don't want to say judging, because we all screw up, we all make mistakes. My mess ups and my screw ups are no different than someone else's. We're all flawed humans, but in order to do my job objectively, understanding my emotions, and again, this was about wasn't about politics. It was about a personal choice that an athlete made. I needed to take a step back and maybe not delve into their personal lives as much. And if it became mainstream, okay. But once I set my heart and my mind to understanding and to recognizing that to do my job effectively, I needed to not hold their personal choices against them, it was better for me to not even know. And so people have asked me in the past, obviously before Kobe Bryant passed away, how can you talk about him without talking about the allegations? Same thing with Ben Roethlisberger and other athletes. How can you talk about them and laud their athletic achievements when they win or when they do something amazing and not point out that they were also accused of X, Y, and Z? Well, because that's not part of the sports narrative. And so back to the politics, I'll listen to Aaron Rodgers. I'll listen to Caitlin Clark. And at times I may know their political and social views, but there are other times where I feel like it's better for me not to know. So that's how I remain objective. And that's how I feel like I'm most effective at doing my job. It's not that I don't care, but in order for me to be professional, in order for me to be the best at what I do, which is talking about athletes and their accomplishments and the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, I need to not care how they feel socially, politically, religiously, all those types of things. Because I can promise you that my religion, my faith is different than probably the vast majority of athletes out there. So there's a lot of ways we're going to differ. I still need to be able to do my job. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. When we return, I'm so excited. New friend, new colleague, John Morris, longtime voice of the Baylor Bears football and basketball teams, will join us. We're going to see if we can get the glitch or the freezing of the stream fixed. So my thanks again to John for being patient and for joining us in a few minutes here. All In with Amy Lawrence on YouTube and Rogue Media Network.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Providence. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabins, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us on our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
I have one of those microphones that's a one-tap touch, and sometimes when I'm talking with my hands, I turn it off or turn it on when it's not supposed to be. So I think that we have maybe solved the freezing issue. We don't see any more comments. We're working on it. So thank you to Zach for helping me work through that. And also thank you now to my new friend and colleague, John Morris, who is the longtime voice of the Baylor football team and basketball team. And many people know you in Waco, right? Because you're a TV star, or you were a TV star.
Never a star. Never a star. But it's great to be on with you. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like you might be strong because we don't want to keep tabs between friends. We don't keep a tab. But it's so much fun for me to share this story and to know, first of all, how God connected us through a mutual friend in Mark Kestisher, who's a longtime play-by-play voice for ESPN Radio and a friend of mine going back to 2004. And when I moved to College Station area, he connected us. And then you invited me on your show, and one domino dropped after another, John. And I'm so thankful that I had a chance not only to hang out with you on your show, but also that it led to this new opportunity for me. So thank you.
Well, that's all you, number one. And don't you love Mark? Isn't he such a great guy?
He is. I'm so grateful
really
for that friendship for years.
Oh, gosh. And I just appreciate his work, but I appreciate him as a person even more than that. But he connected us via text, and it was easy decision on my part to say, Amy, can we get you on the show? And the rest, as they say, is history. But the top question on my mind is, how is Flower this morning?
Oh, thank you for asking.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So she was a little lethargic for about 12 hours or so. This morning I had to coax her to eat. However, she started to not only wag her tail a lot more, but this is kind of funny. I don't know if you have dogs or if this happens with any of your pets, but whenever you talk to one dog, the other one gets jealous.
Yes.
And so yesterday she didn't even have the energy to be jealous when we spoke to Daisy or we tried to pet Daisy. Flower wasn't interested. This morning, and this is what she does.
Yeah.
I tease her about trying to eat her sister. She gets her big old jaws open with her teeth and like gums her like, hey, get out of my way. That's my mom or that's my dad. So this morning she was back to being jealous. So I do think that's a great indication that
Good sign. Right. That is. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for asking.
You bet. And I saw the part of the video yesterday when you turn around and Flower's not having a good time on your first show.
Of course, she christened the new studio, and boy, did it stink. I had to grab some Lysol. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, since you've been doing this for a while, have you had any type of situation like that where something blew up, or in the middle of a live stream, something happened that you couldn't control?
Yes, I think we all have. For the most part, what I do now is in the studio, but then there's sometimes that I do it from home, or we're on the road with football or basketball, and that's where the tricky part comes in. We've got 2 dogs at home, so if I do anything from home, I'm always aware of where they are in the house. Can I shut the door where I am? Even if I shut the door, you're going to hear them barking, and they bark at everything that moves. So that's the extent of it with my dogs.
Well, I'm glad that I'm not alone. Although today Flower is outside the studio, I couldn't take a chance that she might decide to insert herself again. So, gosh, well, I'm glad I'm not alone in that respect too. But also, I'm interested because not only have you been doing the YouTube shows and the live video shows longer, but as you say, you also travel with the Baylor Bears. And so you're on the road. So do you have this special setup, and you take this equipment with you to make sure you're set up in hotel rooms or wherever else you have to do a show from?
They make it pretty simple. I probably should do more, but I just use the camera that's on my laptop and plug in there, and it seems to work pretty well. Most recently, I did that in Las Vegas when we were there for the Players Era tournament. Is that right? No, for the Crown. We were there for the Crown at the end of the season with Baylor basketball. So we're in Las Vegas, and the show that I do airs live at 9 a.m. So what time is that in Las Vegas? Well,
7?
that's 7 a.m. in Las Vegas. So I'm up every morning at 6, and I get ready and I get connected, and then I'm finished with that by 8 a.m. I could go back to bed if I wanted to, but it worked really well.
So you don't need coffee then to do your show? Because I don't think I could talk without coffee.
I'm not a coffee drinker. I never have been. I know. I know.
I'm
And if
even
I'm
more
not by
impressed
now,
by
I
your
probably
energy.
never will be. So I don't know. I'll taste my wife's coffee every once in a while, and it just doesn't interest me.
What do you use then if you need a pick-me-up, John?
Well, to be completely honest, it's usually a smoothie in the morning and tea. You're new to Texas. I'm sure you've discovered sweet tea. So
Oh, yes.
sweet tea is very much intoxicating for me. So there's tea there. There's every once in a while a Mountain Dew, but that's got too much sugar in it. So tea is kind of the main thing through the day.
We're so excited to have John Morris with us. And I know, see, this is different with radio, right, John? Because we used to have to do what was called a reset every
Right.
few minutes and remind
Yeah, right.
people who we're talking to and what's that voice that you're hearing. But now it's on the bottom, so I actually don't need to do that. So when you started doing a YouTube show, was there an adjustment for you? Because I will admit to being kind of nervous this first week, and just the relationship with the camera is a
Right.
challenge for me.
Well, but you're a natural. I mean, you're just doing what you do, and it just happens to be, a camera looking at you. So you're very natural at that. It's a little bit different, in radio, and you know this much better than I do. You can be doing 5 other things sometimes while you're on the air, either you talking or in an interview, while you're listening to an answer. You can be, looking at your phone and looking stuff up, and that doesn't go over
Eating.
too well, when the camera's looking at you. So there's a few subtle differences there, which I'm sure you've discovered already.
We're asking our viewers and later listeners to the podcast about how they react when a public figure, in our case athletes, share their, whether it's political, social, sometimes religious views, right? Because we're seeing more and more athletes who are comfortable talking about their faith and what that faith means to them, even mental health. But when an athlete gets out of his lane, so veers out of his lane, as a broadcaster and someone who works for the university, is the AD of broadcasting and someone who represents the team and the school, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, it's a great question, great topic. I heard you talking about that when I joined earlier, and I think in my role, if I'm doing a game, I am representing Baylor. Okay, nobody wants to know my personal views on things because I am doing my job for Baylor. Now I have a benefit that I have shared values with Baylor. Me personally, I've shared values with Baylor University in that I know that we can say, you know, if a player goes down and he's injured, and if I just say kind of naturally, oh, God bless him, hopefully he's okay. Nick Florence worked with me last year on football, and we had a Baylor running back that got injured, and Nick prayed on the air. I mean, it was on the air when he went down with the injury, and Nick just, you know, offered up a short little prayer for him and his health and his well-being. And I think that fits with Baylor. It may not at some other schools or with some professional ranks. You may get some pushback there. We got none, because that's what Baylor stands for. So I think that helps to have, you know, the same values, shared values with my employer, with Baylor. You know, I don't think I'd ever go political. I can't see any reason why I'd ever go political. But for me, it would be just kind of, this is my platform, and, you know, I'm going to use it to share my faith and share my story whenever I can, but always aware of your employer and who you're working for, and what your audience is also.
Right. Definitely feel like that's the primary goal, is to represent your employer in a way that's professional. And certainly at times there's that disconnect where maybe you don't feel the same way your employer does, or by expressing your views, some people feel entitled. It might create a problem or a controversy for your employer. So I definitely do try to tell the young people I mentor, your responsibility when you're on the air is to your employer at that moment. If you want to be independent, but as long as you represent an employer.
Right.
So
that's when you can say whatever you want. If you're an independent, but you may not have an employer if you're doing that.
I don't want to keep you, because you're so generous with your time, but I do want to tell people really quickly another story. After I first met John in person, he knows that I would like to find an adjunct teaching job in Texas so that I don't necessarily have to travel back to Syracuse. So that's been a great opportunity. He actually took the names of the people in the broadcasting and journalism department at Baylor and personally reached out to them to encourage them to hire me. And I have heard from them, and I'm hoping that works out. But such a kind soul, a great friend. And I'm so thankful for, again, the way that God connected us and used you to help me to settle into a new adventure, John. So thank you.
Same here. I feel the same way about you. Baylor would be fortunate to have you as a professor, an adjunct professor. We're just glad to have you in Texas. Number one, you're a lot closer now, so that's good. I would love to find opportunities for you to do some play-by-play for us, you know, whatever the sport. I think you'd be great at that. So I'm working on that also. So we got, you got a lot of people in your corner, that's for sure. And we're all working for you and for your best. And we'll see what works out.
Yes. Thank you so much. Again, it's been great to connect with you. And I hope that we cross paths again soon in person, John.
Absolutely. Thanks, Amy. Have a great day.
Good stuff with John. And those steps he took to go the extra mile are ones that he did not have to take. And so I really appreciate that, even having just met me, that he would go ahead and reach out to Baylor, or that he would advocate for me in different forums. So very kind. Those types of friends and allies don't come along in this business every day. Trust me. We can all be cordial, and that's not always been the case in my career either. As a female in this business, there were times where it was a fairly lonely road, and where there was a lot of vitriol coming my way. But I do know that I've been very blessed by allies in the business who are willing to stick their neck out for me, advocate for me. Again, there's maybe only a handful of them, but Mark Estasher, who texted me yesterday, he's taking care of his mom who's dealing with some health issues, but texted me yesterday and then did reach out to John to connect us. And how cool it's been to know and to watch how the various dominoes dropped and this opportunity unfolded. So thank you to John. I know he had some other obligations today and yet made some time for us. So as we head up to the top of the hour, we're hoping that the stream is not freezing anymore. Husband sent me a text from the other side of the house and said that it didn't freeze the last segment. And if you want to throw up that question again there on the top. I would appreciate that, Zach, because I do want to know, what is your reaction when athletes use their platforms? And athletes have platforms now. How many of them have their own podcasts? Goodness, I can hardly keep up, although it does give us more direct access. Their own podcast, their own social media, or they use press conferences to either speak out or not. So what is your reaction when your favorite athletes, or maybe it's athletes you don't actually like from a rival team, they wade into politics or social views, and they do it using their platform at a microphone when they're supposed to be doing a press conference about their actual game or their team? So that maybe is crossing the line a little bit. I appreciate what the Steelers had to say in response to Aaron Rodgers airing his grievances against Anthony Fauci and some of the others that he felt like did him wrong. So he was waiting for that opportunity. He was waiting for that moment, and he was not going to hold back. He was ready, aim, fire at these guys and at the situation where he felt like he couldn't speak out in the past as much as he wanted to. Now he feels validated. So the Steelers had an interesting response to that, and I appreciate the way that they handled it. Okay, so we'll get to that after the top of the hour. I don't know that every organization is as classy as the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've certainly had their share of practice when it comes to navigating what can be murky waters. So we'll get into that. But also, did you see the breaking news from the NFL? Because training camps are in full swing now. I'm not the kind of person who's going to tell you, hey, this quarterback threw a 60-yard touchdown bomb to this wide receiver. That's what the insiders are for, and we'll certainly welcome them as we get closer to the actual start of football. Though, did you know Thursday is the first preseason game, the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio? But there is business that we should pass along, especially when it's the type of business that the Falcons have done with their two-time Pro Bowl running back, Bijan Robinson. They have just reached an agreement in the last few hours to give him a 3-year extension worth up to $75 million. And here's the kicker: it will make him the highest paid running back in NFL history. Interesting to think about where running backs were and what they were talking about being undervalued and devalued, say, 3 off seasons ago. I remember sitting in Vegas on Radio Row during Super Bowl week in 2024 and still talking to running backs or talking to others who didn't think running backs deserved the type of money that they were getting. And boy, has that market completely changed. So $50 million guaranteed, $51 million guaranteed, up to $75 million for a very talented running back who will now make $22.25 million per year, which puts him well above Saquon Barkley, who was previously the highest paid running back in average annual value. And remember, you've still got others who may end up getting extensions before the season kicks off. Detroit Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs is one of those in line. But good for the Falcons, understanding where their, I got to think about this because I'll say it backwards, where their bread is buttered. And he gets a new deal that will pay him a lot of money. So now, can he stay healthy? Can he stay effective? It's nice when you don't have to worry about the contract aspect of things. So congratulations to him and his agents for getting that done before they kick off their preseason. Glad to have you with us at A-Law Radio to weigh in, or you can weigh in here on the live stream. What's your reaction when athletes use their platforms to wade into politics and social issues, especially if you don't agree with them? 1 hour in the books. Wow, that was fast. All In with Amy Lawrence here on YouTube and Rogue Media Network.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabin, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier third event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
That hour flew by. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. I'm glad you're all in with Amy Lawrence. And the reason I'm holding my phone is because mom sent me a text and it's sweet. And this is coming from my mom, who yesterday was all upset because she joined 40 minutes late. She got the time wrong. But on day number 2, this is mom's assessment. I think I like this forum better. You are doing an excellent job and I love seeing you. So if nothing else, mom, who just told me I have to go do some other things, so enjoy your second hour. So she's not with me 24/7, but she is excited about the fact that she can see me. Though the reason we moved to Texas is to be closer to our moms. And so she sees me on a pretty regular basis. Not to mention, I actually have to do my shows on SiriusXM from her house, just based on our internet. And so if there is a problem, and I don't know if it's still freezing, it might be, I'm hoping not, this would make me really sad, but it might be about our internet. We are not so far out in the country that we can't get to town in, under 10 minutes. But the issue is that out here, we don't have fiber. And so we had to use Starlink. Now, our neighborhood is supposed to be getting fiber sometime soon. I'll be honest, I didn't even know that there were places in the country this close to town that did not have fiber, but we don't. And so for now, we're on Starlink. And not only is it super expensive, but it's actually not as reliable as we hoped. And with my husband also working here, though he's on Wi-Fi while I'm on plugged into the router, I hope that's not the issue, but it has posed some challenges in the past. So we'll figure it out. That's what this first week is for, is to work out the kinks. So thanks for being all in with Amy Lawrence. I see a few of your comments. Well, there's a lot of them, which is awesome. And I am grateful that some of you just want to weigh in and say good morning. Others of you are telling me where you're listening, watching. That's a change. Where you're watching from. Some of you welcoming me to Texas, which I appreciate. So Oak Creek, Wisconsin. Hello. Topeka, Kansas. Hello. Glad to hear from you. A few of you, and I'm reading them off the screen, though I know producer Zach may also show some of your comments here on the screen too, because we can do that when it's a live stream. As we ask you, what's your reaction to athletes, public figures using their platforms, which can be extensive, to share their politics? Do you get upset when they don't? Do you feel like they have a responsibility socially, publicly? Or are you on the side of, I don't give a crap what you think about this issue? And furthermore, if you tell me and try to ram it down my throat, you're probably going to lose a fan. Now, this is one way that I can't relate as much because I'm not a fan of the athletes that I cover. Of course, I have teams that I rooted for extensively and with extraordinary exuberance when I was younger. That's not really the case anymore now. You'll hear me laud athletes and applaud them for their feats of strength or their historical moments, but you're not going to hear me cheer for a team on the air here. And I actually, other than the U.S. men's national team, don't feel that same passion anymore because all these years in the business have really caused me to be more objective and to watch and listen more professionally. So I take notes during games. I don't sit there and root or yell at the television anymore. So you and I are not quite in the same space. I don't care if they air their views, but I also am not going to take it personally or turn around and make that a part of my coverage of them. And I understand I may be alone on my island, but if you share, you don't share. If you use your platform or you don't, I still have to cover you and talk about you the same way which is with professionalism and objectivity. So I know with fans, it can be a little bit different. So I've got this one from Yvonne who says, freedom of speech must live in the USA. Our Constitution grants us this as one of our 5 core personal freedoms. That's America. And you know what? The Steelers have chosen to take that same approach. And it's not the first time they've done it. So they have used the same approach in the past or use a similar statement in the past when it came to any of their athletes speaking out. So I want to make sure I have the specifics because it's more important to me that I give you their wording. Steelers statement. Oh, I'm Googling even as we're on the air about Aaron Rodgers airing his grievances. So here's what they say. And this is coming from their director of communications. Quote, discussions around culture and politics can bring differing perspectives, and our players are entitled to their own personal views. With respect to that, I am certain there are a variety of opinions on many topics within our locker rooms. That's part of the Steelers' statement to, I wouldn't say support Aaron Rodgers, but I would say to indicate that they support his right to speak out publicly. Now, that doesn't mean he might not lose a business partner or that a corporation may not want to sponsor him or the Steelers anymore. So if it's Aaron Rodgers' right to speak out under the Constitution and in the United States of America, a freedom that I support because I talk for a living. So yes, I support it. It doesn't mean there won't be consequences, right? So it doesn't mean there isn't backlash on Aaron Rodgers from fans or from corporate business partners. Now, think about it with Caitlin Clark. Again, going back to the way that she answered the question, she did talk about how it's not a topic that we bring up in the locker room, trans athletes. The WNBA has to set policy, and I just want to talk about basketball. I am quite certain that with Caitlin also having a bunch of business opportunities, she wants to be careful to walk that line and not burn a bridge with a particular corporate partner. That's also well within her right. You can control what you say, Aaron Rodgers. You can control what you don't say, Caitlin Clark. You can control what you say, Sophie Cunningham. You cannot control the reaction from businesses, from corporations, from fans, from individuals, and in fact, from your employer. If you feel like your employer isn't going to support you speaking out. And I'd have to go back and do some research, but I don't feel like I've seen anything from the Indiana Fever, either in support or in criticism of Sophie Cunningham. Maybe they made a statement and I just missed it. I could go back and look. But in the case of the Steelers, they knew they weren't going to be able to run and hide from this. And so they came out with what for them is corporate policy that they've invoked in the past. These conversations, these varying perspectives and views, they're common in a locker room. And you'll hear that from an NFL player or really a college football player too, if he chooses to speak out, that a locker room, especially in football, features so many people from so many different backgrounds and ethnicities and socioeconomic status or different states and languages and cultures. And so it's really a melting pot. And I know we've heard that about the United States of America. I do feel like a football locker room can be a microcosm of what we see across the United States. These guys understand that they're not all going to agree. And it's impossible. In the NFL, you have a 53-man active roster. That doesn't include your practice squad, the guys who are on injured reserve. It doesn't include a very large coaching staff. It gets larger and larger every year in the NFL. It doesn't include your front office or even your ownership. So just 53 men who are on the field every week, right? Think about the 100 plus other men and women who are part of an NFL weekly operation or week by week operation. There's no way they agree. In fact, you're going to have personality conflicts, all that kind of stuff. We see it pretty routinely because it's a very large family and they spend a ton of time together. Does it mean that every locker room embraces these conversations? Probably not, but there are some that do, right? There are some when there's a particular issue that's gone viral or that stems from, let's just use Aaron Rodgers as an example, though I don't know that this is the case. But let's just say there are teammates, maybe coaches, maybe a front office executive who doesn't like what Aaron Rodgers did yesterday and feels like he needs to bring it up with Aaron. It could certainly turn into a conflict, an interpersonal conflict, but also a conflict / distraction that could disrupt what the team is attempting to do this year. And those kinds of conversations can happen. I'll try to think of an example, but certainly there have been some in the past, whether it's social, whether it's political. And so, yeah, those might have to be addressed in a locker room, but you can't expect a group that size, a family that large to all get along and to all see politics or religion or social views in the same manner. So that's not something that you're going to get, which means they've got to figure out how to navigate their differences. But as fans, what's your reaction when athletes use their platforms to share their politics? Some of you are pointing out, hey, what if that athlete or that public figure is uninformed and is airing his views and they're inaccurate? I mean, that absolutely can happen. To be fair, that happens with the media too. There are times, and I hope that media companies are showing enough integrity that when they're wrong, they admit it. I've had to do that on the air before. I've either misremembered a stat or a fact, or I've just flat out screwed up and I was wrong about something. So when I'm wrong, you will hear me and see me admit it. But not all media companies do that. And let's be honest, there are varying definitions of truth. Now, I happen to be a person who thinks that truth is absolute. But there are people who believe it can be my truth or your truth or their truth, and your truth isn't my truth. Okay, so there are a lot of different ways that people might look at the information they receive and think, well, that's wrong. Or they're just not informed. We live in an age in 2026 where people read headlines and they don't bother to actually read or open up the link or take the time to educate themselves. That's a problem too. Social media has changed how we consume information. So if all you're seeing is an athlete spouting off information and you don't think it's accurate, yeah, that can be an issue as well. This comes from Ron on our stream. Sports personnel should stick to their field. I guess that's kind of his version of stay in your lane. I don't want to hear about their personal views on anything else. Now, that's interesting. Thank you for your feedback and your input, Ron. There are a lot of times, and this even occurred in 2020, where I had listeners to my radio show say to me, stick to sports. When I was early in my career, I had a female manager say to me, you should only be talking about sports because you don't have enough credibility as a female to be delving outside of sports. Again, in essence, stay in your lane. And here's my response to that. Also, in 2020, there were no sports for me to stick to, so that was kind of a problem, really not possible. But here's my reaction to that. You will not hear 24/7, 100% sports on this show ever. And it's not been that way on my talk shows for at least the last 10 years. Grammy Helen became America's grandmother because I talked about her on the show. My dog Penny, you would hear the stories about her all the time. I share with you about my travel. We've done shows on cheese. We've done shows on best dog breeds. Sometimes I talk about current events and what's happening in the world at large that we live in that affects us personally. Why? Because no person is one-dimensional, and that includes me. If all I do is sit here and spout my views on sports, I mean, some of you might think that's super interesting, but what I have found is that as human beings, we're not one-dimensional. We don't stay in one lane all the time. And as someone who is a master driver, I definitely change lanes a bunch. But what causes you to return to this show and choose this show and to choose to watch and listen to me over a different show when you have so many options? Well, it's the connection that we make. You're not going to connect with me simply because of my views on sports. You're going to connect with me because you feel like I'm relatable and we all eat. We don't maybe all have dogs who throw up in the middle of a show, but we a lot of us very often we treat our pets like family. We sometimes love sports, we sometimes don't, but we all have hearts that beat over some of the challenges, whether natural disasters or man-made disasters in our world. We're all affected by what's happening in the United States. So yeah, I don't think that sticking to sports is necessary for me or for athletes, but I certainly understand it's your prerogative. If you no longer want to hear anything from Aaron Rodgers because you're ticked off that he had the nerve to share his opinion about Anthony Fauci and about the pleading the fifth and all that jazz, and you can't believe that he spouted off and teed off on that situation on a show where he's supposed to be talking about football because he's at training camp. Well, it's your prerogative to never watch the Steelers again or to never speak the name of Aaron Rodgers again. But it's also the prerogative of others who agree with him to say, way to go, Aaron, or ha ha ha, that was funny because Pat McAfee couldn't rein him in. Or maybe with Caitlin Clark, you're thrilled that she's not taking a stand. Or maybe you love that Sophie Cunningham took a stand the way that she did. So again, whether athletes speak out or not, whether they share their politics and their social views or they don't, they can only control what they say. They can't control the reaction. And it's going to be a volatile reaction in the climate in which we live. Let's see. Oh, no. Eileen says Colin Kaepernick is a good example of using his platform for his opinion. Yes, he had a massive platform. And depending upon what you believe, that platform and being outspoken may have gotten him to the point where he wasn't going to get another job in the NFL. I could go the other extreme, right? Tim Tebow, he was very open about his faith, and the groundswell of either support or dislike for Tim Tebow caused teams in the NFL to believe that it wasn't necessarily worth it, the reaction to have him on a roster. I ultimately believe, especially in pro sports, but pinpointing the NFL, And we see this a lot of times with athletes who've been arrested or have been persona non grata for something specific, some moment in their careers. Rashee Rice is an example, or Kareem Hunt. I'm just using two that come from the Kansas City Chiefs only because they're very popular these days and because they also have managed to rise above some of the conflicts, but they're also willing to bring guys on board who've either been arrested or been accused of nefarious crimes or have even served some time or have paid the penalty for the crimes and the grievances that they committed. But I firmly believe, like the Chiefs, most NFL teams will bring any athlete on board if they believe he can help them win. It may be a firestorm, but remember when Michael Vick came back to the NFL, there may be a lot of criticism. There may be a ton of backlash. But if you can help an NFL franchise gain a leg up or gain an advantage over an opponent, most teams, the vast majority of teams in the league, will bring a guy on board, even if he's got baggage, even if they know there's going to be a ton of backlash and vitriol that comes their way. And part of that is because eventually we move on in the United States. And also, I think we believe in second chances, sometimes third chances, not always. Sometimes we have our opinions that that's the unforgivable sin and that guy or gal should never work again. But in many cases, you'll see athletes pop up again if they still have usefulness. It's kind of sad to say it that way, but it's true. If they still have usefulness and can help a franchise win. So I appreciate your comments. Thanks so much for weighing in and for watching live. And if you're watching after the fact, of course, you can always find us on social at A-Law Radio. That will remain the same. I actually tried to go and change both the name and the title on my, so I have a second Twix account that's supposed to be primarily for work. And I can't change the name on that one either, nor can I change the name on the Facebook page because they lose kind of their validation and their status, the check mark, if you will. And so I don't want to have you all start over like you did with the YouTube show. So for now, the names are just the names, but you can find me at A-Law Radio. That will remain the same. And also on our new Instagram and TikTok accounts, on YouTube. Pretty much everything is under the umbrella of All In with Amy Lawrence. And so I feel like with the search engines out there, you'll be pretty successful in finding us. Though there is another Amy Lawrence who works in the sports broadcasting industry. She's mostly a writer, but she does a lot more on screen. And I know in the past, she's had to deal with people looking for me and not knowing that they found the wrong Amy Lawrence. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Tuesday morning. We're also appreciative of the partnership with Waco Surf in Waco, Texas. For those of you who love to take your RV on the road or take your campers on the road, this is kind of sweet. You can go to Waco Surf and you can stay in the hotel there on the property, or you can get a private cabin, or you can hook up your RV. My mom and her husband, they love their fifth wheel. They pull it all over the country. And so they're always looking for the next best hookup. So thank you to Waco Surf for being part of what we're doing. And I'm so glad that not only are we into the middle of our second day and our second hour, and I feel like I'm getting more comfortable, but that you're on board with us here, All In with Amy Lawrence on YouTube and Rogue Media Network.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabins, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
I'm a bebopper. I wouldn't call myself a dancer, but I'm definitely a bebopper. And I do love to bop around to music. Now, if as producer Zach and I continue through our new working relationship and we get to know each other better, I know he will start to play the kind of music that I love and will definitely bebop to, but I'm not going to tell him because I like to know that producers are getting to know me a little bit better. But I do appreciate that we've got so many of your comments. I do hope the freezing issue has been cleared up and we'll work on that throughout the course of this week because we don't want that. No one needs my face frozen on this screen. Also, I did check up on Flower because I could hear her chewing on something. She was absolutely sitting with her rear end up against the door that's right behind me. You can see the knob, and the bone was not far away. So she can hear my voice. She knows that I'm here and in here, and she wants to come in. But because she's feeling better, that means that she's likely not going to be sitting down. The dog is crazy, and you could probably see her nutty tail if I let her in. Maybe once a week, maybe Fridays. It'll be, I need some alliteration. It can't be Feline Friday. We don't currently have a cat, though I'm definitely campaigning with my husband to be able to get some barn cats. We're going to kind of agree. Can the cats come indoors? Do they have to stay outside all the time? Because I definitely miss having a cat in the house. But maybe on Friday, if it's a fun Friday or a fantastic Friday, Amy. It can be Flower Friday. Why not? Maybe I'll have some flowers here in studio so you can see them. Actually, they're flowers on this painting that my husband did. Mine is safely off screen because my painting wasn't nearly as cool as my husband's. I'm not an art person, but yeah, maybe we do Flower Friday. And that would, I think, just by definition, include Daisy, our other dog. And no, that was not on purpose. Daisy was named, she was adopted as a very teeny little puppy. Baby pictures. I've seen Daisy's baby pictures. She was really tiny. She's a mini Aussie, but she was also a runt. And so she was very small when he adopted her, and he named her Daisy. And Daisy and Penny knew each other and lived together for about 3 months before Penny passed away. And then it was just Daisy for a while. And then in late 24, I found Flower at a rescue in well, it's a town south of Austin, so here in Texas, and her name was Flower already. They knew that. I think there had been a collar, or maybe she was chipped already. They didn't know much else about her. We were going to change her name because I thought that was kind of goofy, but it turns out that it's perfect for her. So Flower Friday. Oh, that's going to be fun. Hey, babe, if you're listening, maybe I need some fresh flowers for Friday. Thanks for joining us here. You're all in with Amy Lawrence. And I did see that there was a ton of traffic on the stream after the fact. So people going back and watching on their own time. It's kind of funny because even yesterday, people were still asking me or making the comment that maybe I can jump back to what I was doing before, a network, and work overnight and go back to straight radio. I love radio. It will always be my first love. And to me, this is still a talk format, and I do love the idea. So for me, it's more about the audio than it is about the video anyway, though I have to get used to video. But I love the fact that we have a streaming app, or you can go on Spotify after the show, or Apple Podcasts, or whatever podcast platform you have, and you don't have to watch. Oh my gosh, my stomach started growling. Let's hope that I'm going to have to figure out that part of my routine as well. I had a couple little blocks of cheese for some protein before coffee, and I had a peach. That was it before the show. And I burn calories when I talk because I talk with my hands. And so that's not enough, but a few more minutes I can survive without eating. Maybe. And so anyway, so for me, it's still about the talk part. And that's what I'm focusing on, even though you're now seeing me talk. But I know when I listen to some of my favorite podcasts or some of my favorite speakers, I often just do the video. So when I'm driving, I'm not watching someone on their podcast. I'm listening to it through Princess Leia's speaker system. Or when I'm running, I'm not watching it. Oh, gosh, it's hard to run in the heat of Texas right now. So I've only run once outside in the last 3 months, I think. But I'm listening to it, not watching it. A lot of times I'll minimize it so the video's not even rolling on my phone. Instead, I'm listening. So if that's your prerogative and you want to listen overnight when you're driving or working or trying to go to bed, well, you certainly can do that, because that's the cool thing about digital on-demand content, is that whenever it suits your schedule, you can fit it in. All right, so a couple of things. We mentioned that Bijan Robinson has signed a contract to make him the highest paid running back based on average annual value for now, but good for him. $51 million guaranteed. It's monopoly money to me. I have no idea what that feels like, nor will I ever. I know that there are a few radio hosts or media personalities out there who do make millions. Yeah, that's never going to be me, and I'm okay with it. Mo money, mo problems, I think. But Bijan Robinson has been very effective for the Falcons. And even as they now try to figure out their quarterback situation, so that's a big deal, right? Because they've gone through a bunch of transition over the last several years. I'm going to go and I'm going to look at it just so I don't miss any of the names. But their quarterbacks, they've had a bunch of transition, and that's rough. Going back to the days of Matt Ryan, I feel like they really have had kind of a revolving door there at quarterback. So here we go. Matt Ryan, of course, a former MVP, played in the Super Bowl one time, multi-Pro Bowl and All-Pro designations. He was their starting quarterback from 2008 to 2021. Okay, they did have 1 year. I mean, he was so consistent and reliable. They had 1 year at the beginning of his career where he missed 2 games. And then in 2019, Matt Schaub made a start. And I don't remember when that was. It might have been toward the end of his career. But Matt Ryan barely missed a start or a weekend during football season from 2008 all the way through 2021. Okay, so since then, Marcus Mariota, remember, he came in with Arthur Smith. And so that was kind of his pick. Now, you can believe or not believe that he would have been the first choice of the Falcons at that point. But you know how it is with I sometimes liken it to musical chairs. If you remember that kids game that you might have played where there's more people, in this case, there are more teams than there are chairs, meaning quarterbacks. And so after a lot of the offseason dust had settled when it came to contract extensions and trades or free agent deals, what the Falcons were left with at that point was Marcus Mariota. So he started 13 games that year in 22, but then Desmond Ridder took over. Desmond Ridder wasn't necessarily the answer. So Taylor Heineke, who was a new signing, took over for him in 23. Then they brought in Kirk Cousins. Remember that massive deal that he got to go from, was it Vikings then? Yes, Vikings to the Atlanta Falcons. But right on the heels of that huge deal for Kirk Cousins, they draft Michael Penix. So Penix takes over toward the end of that season in 24, but then gets hurt this past year in 25, and they're back to Kirk Cousins. Well, now Kirk Cousins is with the Raiders, and not only could end up being the starter, but also the mentor for, and we'll see how they handle it for Fernando Mendoza, whether or not he starts right away, whether or not they choose to have him wait behind Kirk Cousins. A lot will probably depend on if they're winning out of the gate and if Kirk Cousins is successful with the offense. So there's a lot of drama now. Tua Tagovailoa is now with the Falcons. And so his transition and how quickly can he get up to speed, and whether or not they feel like he's ready to go at the start of the season. And he's been with the team for a few years now, but it's one of those principles in sports that I adhere to. Constant change at your critical positions equals constant losing in sports. And so Tua is right now listed as their QB1 because Michael Penix is still recovering from injury, but also Tua brings some veteran presence, some experience that they're hoping he can use with that Falcons group of weapons. And they've got some incredible pieces throughout their offense. We just talked about Bijan Robinson, Drake London, the great young wide receiver. They've got Kyle Pitts, who at times may or may not be reliable for your fantasy team, but I know I've had him on mine in the past, and he's had some really strong seasons. He's extremely talented. So they do have weapons around their quarterback. The consistency at QB has really been the issue. So that's why it's important for them to make sure that Bijan Robinson is secure. But yeah, a lot of this drama will start to unfold as we get into the NFL season. So that's one big storyline today, is the Falcons spending their money on Bijan Robinson. And then do you know what happens later on tonight? First to start, unless something changes, first start for Tarek Skubal, or as other people call him, Tarek. Sometimes I go back and forth. I need to stop doing that. In the middle of the same show, I will go back and forth between, because I went with Tarek for years, and then people started telling me it was Tarek. But then I hear Baseball Insiders say Tarek, and I'm just going to have to go and see if I can find a place where he's actually saying his name, or where the Tigers are introducing him not the Tigers anymore. Sorry. The Dodgers introducing him at a press conference. So Tarek Skubal. How about I just say the best pitcher in baseball? He is scheduled to make his first start in a Dodgers uniform tonight. And let's see whether or not this provides them a spark, because they have lost a handful of games in a row. In fact, I saw Dave Roberts talking about this. So this would have been Monday night, talking about the fact that Skubal was about to make his first start in Chicago and that they hadn't won since he joined the team. It's not his fault. So Skubal also spoke out in response to the criticisms about the Dodgers, and they're trying to buy a World Series, and you're just joining the best team in baseball. Remember when Kevin Durant went from the Thunder to the Warriors, and people called him a cupcake because he was joining the best team in basketball, not to mention the one that had just beaten his team in the Western Conference Finals, right? Well, Skubal pushes back on that. Dave Roberts has pushed back on that. Andrew Friedman has pushed back on this idea that the Dodgers are attempting to buy a World Series, or that they're collecting toys, if you will. Here's what Skubal had to say. He doesn't sympathize.
I have Harris or Steve. I don't have Skubal.
That's okay. I'll read.
I just wanted to save you that. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll read his quotes. Okay, so here's Skubal. Skubal says every team could make that acquisition. I don't really sympathize with people that blame the Dodgers for anything they've done. And he goes on to praise the organization that they've built, the culture, the foundation. He says they draft well, they acquire talent really well, they retain talent. It's a winning organization. Now the complaints seem to be because they've won the last 2 World Series. And I agree with him. And I said this on the show Monday. Scooble makes a great point. Robert, same thing. Every other team in Major League Baseball could have gone after him. And according to Tigers president Scott Harris, there were other bidders. And so we did find some of the audio from his video conference reacting to the trade, kind of post-trade. First time we've heard from Scott Harris post-trade. He's facing criticism for why didn't you hold out for more, or why did you send him to the Dodgers? Like it's Harris's issue where Scooble ends up. No, he's trying to find the best return on the investment with Scooble. And if you're going to let him go and you're going to let him walk, then make sure you get back everything you need in return. Well, people point out it wasn't a huge haul in return for the best pitcher in baseball. So we'll get to Scott Harris coming up, but President Scott Harris of the Tigers did explain why he made the move at the time that he did with the return that he got for Scooble. But Scooble is expected to start tonight for the first time. So that'll be a story come Wednesday. You're all in with Amy Lawrence. We're glad to have you. Thanks for all your comments. They just keep pouring in. So it's awesome to know that you're with us live. Although I'm also thrilled to see that many of you have consumed the show after the fact. And yeah, if you are a follower or you're partnered with us on social media, you probably also saw the short clip. I sent it to a bunch of my friends as well because it was hysterical. When I realized live on the air that Flower was throwing up behind me, she was retching. I could hear it. I could smell it. And I just knew there was no saving face at that point. All right, we're heading up to the top of the hour. Wow, this show is flying. All in with Amy Lawrence on YouTube and Rogue Media Network.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabins, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Again, I don't think, based on the way that we played over the first 112 games, that it made sense to do that. And so once I came to peace with the answer to those questions being no, I thought it was in the best interest of this organization to make the trades that we made this week. I hate selling with every fiber in my body. I absolutely hate it. I don't want to be in a position where we are selling in July. But I think in the situation that we found ourselves in this July, I thought it would be irresponsible not to do it. Given the markets that we had for Tarek and for Casey, I didn't feel like it was in the best interest of the organization to intentionally pass on injecting the level and the volume of young talent that we injected into this organization this month. And I felt like it was in the best interest of our organization to make those decisions. And that's how I went about approaching it.
So you see the comments of Tigers president Scott Harris, and at the beginning he was talking about why the question was about why they didn't stand pat or why they ended up selling, why they became sellers at the deadline, and why didn't they keep Skubal, which, by the way, did you hear it? He called him Tarek. So for now, I'm just going to stay with Tarek. So Harris goes on to say, and I thought this was worth mentioning as well, that all of the criticism about them, first of all, not waiting until the deadline. Remember, they did the deal, it was Saturday night, I believe, on my phone. It told me that Skubal had been traded to the Dodgers because I did react on Saturday night on Twix. And so it was Saturday night. It wasn't Monday afternoon. And in addition to that, there are a lot of even baseball insiders or experts who would say they didn't get very much from this trade. They didn't get what most teams or other teams might have given them in exchange for Skubal. But Harris pushes back on that. And he says that markets at the deadline for the top players are different than the rest of the market. And he said, I can understand the criticism and this idea that you should wait till the last second, but he says that's not how markets for top players work. And he did say that there was no need to stretch it out any further. He said actually the other organizations, so not just the Dodgers, but the other organizations that were involved were extremely aggressive. And he said multiple times, you remember that game show? Shoot, is it Deal or No Deal? Is that your final answer? No, shoot, it wasn't Deal or No Deal. What was the name of the one with is that your final answer? Was that do you want to be a millionaire? Shoot.
Who wants to be a millionaire?
So who wants to be a millionaire? And the answer from Howie, it was Howie, right? Is that
no, that's Deal or No Deal though.
Oh, that
it was Regis that was
Regis. Yeah. Is that your final answer? Okay, thank you. Sometimes if I don't use it every day, the information gets stored somewhere that I can't quite reach it. Yes. Is that your final answer? So Harris went back to these multiple organizations and said, is that your final answer? And he actually said that initially there were multiple organizations involved. They put in what they believed were extremely aggressive. That's his term, not mine. Extremely aggressive. These organizations put in their max offers. He said, and then they added to those offers. And he goes on to say, almost got to the point of audible pain when they produced their best bold offers. And he said at that point, we pulled the trigger. And he said the idea that we should have waited 24 or 48 hours later and gotten more value, he calls it garbage. And so Scott Harris defends their strategy and says, hey, once we made the decision, I hate being a seller at the deadline, but once we made the decision, we had to move forward with a strategy that we thought would best help us be positioned for the future. And I know there are some Tigers fans, and I think some baseball fans in general, who would look at the American League and say, come on, you were still in the mix. You still have an opportunity. And that is the case. And the course of Major League Baseball, the 162 games over a regular season does allow teams to go from first to worst and back up again, or to make a surge over the course of, say, 3 weeks or a month. We saw the Red Sox just do it over the month of July to the point where they're now above 500, not just above 500, but 9 games above 500. We've seen teams in the past, like the Washington Nationals in 2019, go from dead last and 12 games out to winning a World Series as a wild card. So it can happen. Injuries are a major part of that, but also the trade deadline can shift some weapons around. Banging on trash cans generally helps too for Houston Astros in the past. Speaking of the Astros, they're now on top of the AL West. They've been languishing in mediocrity for the entire season. And at times they were so far back that the Astros were potentially going to be sellers at the deadline. And that's kind of my point, is that you have so many teams that are still in the mix, whether it be for a division title or whether it be for a wild card, that it limited the market some, though we did see the Orioles give up Adley Rutschman to go to the Red Sox, an all-star catcher. We also saw Clay Holmes end up with the Cubs because the Mets were holding a fire sale of sorts. So we'll see what Scooble can do with the Dodgers tonight against the Cubs. These are two very good teams. In fact, two of the best teams in Major League Baseball. And that's pretty exciting to see for him, because he was emotional about leaving the Tigers, how quickly he can find his rhythm and how quickly he can feel comfortable. I feel like Scooble and I have something in common. It's still pitching for him. It's still baseball, but it's a different setting. It's a different uniform. It's different teammates. It's a different battery mate in his catcher. And so, yes, it's still what he knows and his wheelhouse, right? Pitching is his wheelhouse. And probably he's faced some of the batters that he will see with the Cubs tonight in the past, but it's not the same. And it takes some adjusting and getting used to. And I can identify and relate to that. This is still sports talk. It's still connecting with people. It's still what I do best and what I've done for 30 years because I'm so old. But it's not the same forum or the same packaging, if you will. Not to mention my dog threw up and there's no place to go from there on launch day. All right, want to make sure I mention yet again that if you are looking for a family-friendly surf resort with a wave pool, standing wave, beach, water park, oh my gosh, a beach sounds so nice right now. A lazy river, endless outdoor activities. Waco Surf is not only a proud partner and sponsor of us here on Rogue Media Network, but also a great destination as the summer gets hotter and hotter in the Southwest and certainly in Texas. Before we get to the top of the hour, a lot of comments, so I want to try to get to a few more of those before we wrap up. Something that I'm also adjusting to is when it comes to YouTube, but when it comes to the internet space, the live stream space, the clock doesn't matter as much. Now, I'm very much about the clock, and for 30 years, I've had to watch a clock. In fact, I still do it now. My show's on Sirius XM. I have to hit a post, if you will. It's a hard out, meaning if you don't stop talking at the top of the hour, the computer will cut you off or the voice god will cut you off. So I'm very rigid when it comes to the clock a lot of times, but it's not the same with the internet. So I do want to get out because I have a growling stomach and you have lives as well. And I don't want to take advantage of your time, but it's not the same as having to hit a post, so to speak. So maybe we'll work in a few more of your comments before the top. But also, I was telling you yesterday when Flower threw up that I'm really excited about Mauricio Pochettino remaining with U.S. men's national team and the fact that he has signed a 4-year deal, which will take him through the next World Cup. I saw his interview that he did with the U.S. men's national team Twitter. So he sat down. I don't know who the reporter was. And I think it was probably someone who works for the USMNT, maybe their PR person, their communications director, but was asking Pochettino about his contract and why he stayed and what he's excited about moving forward. And we grabbed a clip of that.
Talk about why you were excited about the opportunity to continue for the next 4 years.
Well, I think it's there are too many things, but one of the things is to open a new chapter, seeing the potential of our fans and all the people on this amazing country that is USA show us during the World Cup. I think it's an amazing opportunity, to be involved and to be part of, to create and to evolve and to develop an amazing new cycle of 4 years. And I think that is an important thing, is to feel that we can be part of, to help and to grow in the direction that the vision of the federation have.
I like that. He's part of what they're growing. He used that word, and the excitement. And he goes on to talk about how over these next 4 years, they've got priorities and they want to be able to build, and they had to get the team ready for this World Cup. And as much as it might have been a disappointment to you, it definitely was to me that they didn't get to the quarterfinals. I was actually hoping for semifinals. The fact is, they've got a good thing going now, and to make another change and to replace him with a different manager, kind of that trigger decision, not having patience would have been a bad move. And he took some time and he decided that he would remain with the U.S. men's national team. And so now he has the chance to teach and train and evaluate and look at combinations together and come up with even more nuances to their offense and defense, and flesh it out a little more and equip the team that he chooses, as well as some of the other guys that will maybe be working into the rotation. Maybe they're coming from the U18 program. Maybe they have an opportunity to try out with the men's national team. He's got a chance now to add to the depth and to certainly add to not just the culture, but also the training and the preparation for the next World Cup. So there is one benefit to them not playing again in the World Cup and on that stage for another 4 years, though it feels like a long time to wait. So glad to have you with us. I cannot believe how fast these 2 hours flew by. I've been looking at some of your comments over on It's My Right on the stream. I'm not sure how it looks on YouTube because I'm actually not looking at YouTube. That would be funky while I'm on the air. But Joyce weighs in and says, natural curiosity is that we would like to know where public figures fall on issues, people, and politics. However, in this day and age, it divides us more. So I don't want to know. So thank you, Joyce. I love your honesty there. It's not that I don't want to know. And there are times where I might feel, an emotional reaction to it. I just don't carry that forward. And so if I don't know or I do know, I don't want it to affect me because I still have to do my job. But I know as fans, if someone goes out there and states an opinion that we vehemently disagree with, or maybe it's a hot button topic for us, and I'm not going to mention any because you know what I'm talking about. Maybe it's a hot button issue for us. It's something we feel passionately about. And we find out that this person, this athlete that we love, feels the exact opposite. Well, I can understand why some fans would think, I just don't feel the same way about that athlete anymore. But I do hope that over time we can separate, because what they do in their jobs, their professions, is entertaining, it's skilled, it's impressive, and it provides us with great joy at times. And also there is this underlying current sometimes of, if you don't agree with me, it's not okay. I think we are better off as Americans and as humans if we can say the opposite. You don't agree with me, and I'm okay with that. You don't agree with me, and you have a different view. I can learn from that. You don't agree with me. We're different people, and I may feel passionately on one end of the spectrum and you're on the other end, but we can meet in the middle, and we can still be family members, and we can still be friends, and we can still respect one another and respect that it's a privilege and an honor and a freedom to be able to express our own opinions in the United States of America, because there are countries in the world where that is not a freedom that's granted to people. So I hope that at some point we move toward that. I will support you and I will respect you, even though I don't agree with you. And I'm actually interested in your opinions because maybe, just maybe, I can learn something that will expand my horizons a little more. Yes, and a little more. No, I can't end like that, but I have to, of course, because see, we're after the top of the hour. Thank you for hanging out. Tons of comments. I look forward to a conversation that continues more at A-Law Radio and also on Facebook, Still After Hours with Amy Lawrence, TikTok, Insta, just search for All In with Amy Lawrence. My thanks to producer Zach, as always, and to those of you who've hung out with us the last couple hours or are finding the show after the fact. Same great channel. That's my YouTube channel. All In with Amy Lawrence on Wednesday, 11 o'clock in the morning Eastern. That's 10 a.m. for me, Texas time. In the meantime, again, thank you for your support. It means a lot to me. I don't even really know how to tag out yet. Zach, are we ready? We've got this. We're going to try this day number 2. Thanks for joining us on YouTube and Rogue Media Network.